May this be for God's greater honor and glory. Amen. Please be seated. Just as kind of an aside, as sort of a little joke between all of us, Peter's the only man I ever knew who fished naked and then got dressed to jump into the water. I mean, really? But that's what he did. That's the joke. What I would like you to do for the next few minutes is think back a couple of weeks to Holy Thursday night. And the scene is this: Jesus is in the Sanhedrin. He's having a trial with the high priests, and everybody is gathered outside in the courtyard. Now, it was chilly, apparently, because there were charcoal braziers lit all over the place, and you could go and stand by them and warm yourselves. Well, as it turned out, Peter was standing by one of these charcoal braziers, and a servant girl came over to him and kind of gave him the once-over and said, you were one of his friends, aren't you? And he was slightly annoyed, and he answered, and this is in the Greek, ouda oita. Nah, I don't know him. Just almost wishing her, just go away. You're annoying me. So he continues to warm his hands by the fire, and a few minutes later, another slave girl, servant girl, came over to him, and she really did look at him. She's examining him. She's looking him right in the eye, and she said, you're one of the people who were following him. I recognize you. Now this time, he goes, oida, oita, ouda. That's Greek for I don't know what you're talking about. And he's kind of a little more annoyed than he was the first time. And he brushes her off and continues to warm himself by the fire. Well, a few minutes later, a third servant woman came over, and this time very forcefully said, you're a Galilean, even your accent gives you away. I know that you're one of his friends. That was it. The Greek reads that he screamed at her, ouda, oita, ouda. I don't know what you're talking about. And he kept saying it over and over, ouda, oita, ouda. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know him. And it was at that moment that the rooster crowed twice. Now, the sad fact remains that Peter is right. He doesn't know Jesus. He never knew Jesus. And so when he says, I don't know him, he's not kidding. More than just trying to save his own skin, he's really saying, I don't have the depth of faith that I need to know who Jesus is. So, no, I don't know him. So remember that little episode, and then fast forward to today's gospel reading. They're at the lake. They have fish. They have plenty of food. They've had their breakfast. And Jesus trained his sights on Peter as only Jesus can. And how many times does he ask Peter, do you love me? Now, the first time Peter said, sure, I love you. Of course. Feed my lambs. The second time Jesus said, Simon, son of John, a little more formal, do you love me more than these? And he said, yes, I love you more than these. Feed my sheep. The third time, he trains his sights on Peter and says, Peter, son of John, do you love me more than these? And this time, Peter is really hurt and protests, yes, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Feed my sheep. And then he predicts something that will happen maybe 34 years later. If Jesus died and rose from the dead and the year is 30 AD, we are told that Peter died in the year 64 AD. So about 34 years later, Peter meets his doom, and Jesus is predicting it right now and said, sometime later on when you're older, someone will put a rope around you and lead you where you don't want to go. And you will be too old and you will be too weak to do anything about it. The threefold question, do you love me, completely negates Peter's threefold denial. It's as if it never happened. It's as if Jesus is saying, look, I know that you denied me 3 times in that courtyard. And I heard the rooster crow twice after your third denial, the same way you heard that rooster crow. I know what you said, but I'm not going to hold it against you because you do love me and you've told me that you love me and that from now on you will continue to love me and be my servant. God does the same thing for us. He gives us chances over and over and over and over to make good on all the mistakes that we've made, because we can't afford the time to regret everything that we've done wrong. We simply have to say, Lord, help me to love you more and more. And God will do that for us. God will give us the chance to right our wrongs and to help us to become better and more faithful disciples. So here we are, the third Sunday of Easter. We're still in the Easter season. We're still bathed in the light of Jesus' resurrection. Let's ask the Lord to give us the grace of perseverance so that we can continue to love and serve the Lord with gladness of heart. Amen. May God be praised.